evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Neighborish livecast. I'm Super Dave, aka Mr. Incredible, and with me, as always, are the people that make the Neighborish livecast Neighborish. Our feminine energy, the meal prep chef, personal trainer, and fitness guru, Miss Fruit Fit herself, Patrice Jones. Hey, P.
Hey,
how you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
That's good. That's good. And my man, 100 grand, the life of the party.
Oh, he's not.
Always ready to what's he always ready to do?
Eat chicken.
Smoke.
Say ultimately smoke. Yeah, a little bit of everything. My man Just Mike. What's up, brother?
It's good to see you guys. Happy to be out here. Let's do this, man. Let's have some fun.
Definitely. And we have an awesome show for you today because I met our guest, today's guest, a couple of years back on a commercials, on the set for a commercial shoot for, I think it was for Customs and Border Patrol. And the thing about these shoots is like, it's usually a whole day thing and it's a lot of downtime. So they moving cameras around, they setting up stuff. So we had some time to talk, to chop it up a little bit. And we found out that we had a couple of things in common. We both were recording artists who were building, acting careers. And we had a couple of friends in common on both the acting and music side. What I didn't know at that time was that I was talking to one of the premier voices of the DMV. Now, this guy's performed with people like Michael Buble. He's done praise and worship services with President Obama and his family. Him and his band have rocked the 930 Club, the Blues Alley, a lot of the main venues in the area. If you've been to a Nationals or any sports team, most of the sports team in the area game back before COVID shut it down, you probably heard him singing the national anthem and getting the crowd hyped. And on top of all that, the whole time he's been releasing music. Not just any music, like award-winning music, like his latest single, which was nominated and won, not two, but 3 Whammy Awards. Ladies and gentlemen, the extremely talented Jarreau Williams is with us today, and we're so glad to have him here. What's up, sir?
Yo, what's up, man? I love that introduction. I appreciate it. Look, Michael was over there like, wait, Customs and Border Patrol. What y'all doing?
Amiga, get down.
It was a commercial, man. But
yeah,
that's where it starts. Yeah, okay.
We did that at Dulles. That was at Dulles Airport.
Yeah.
That was probably like what? That was like 2016.
16, I think, yeah, 16 or 17, yeah, one of those. But yeah, it's been a while, man. So it's good to see you again.
Yeah, man.
You've been working, man. That ain't even all the stuff you do that I said in the intro, man. You've been on the grind, and I'm, proud, and it's good that you're a good brother. So it's good to see you out here winning, man. We got a lot to talk about because you do, like I said, a lot of stuff, and we're gonna get into all of that. First, it's a few things that's been going on in the city, in the country, in the world that we need to talk about, and we're gonna talk about it right now. Starting with, for the last few weeks, we've been talking about a lot of stuff that's been prominent in the media lately with the, shootings and different things, police brutality and things, and there's so much going on. I wanted to talk to my co-hosts who are parents, and because I started thinking about it this week and thinking about the impact of all of this and what kind of impact it's having on kids, on young people when they see this stuff. And it's so abundant. It's like, do they start to get desensitized to? I don't know why I can't talk today, but what kind of effect is it having, and what kind of things do you guys, Patrice, we talked about this before. What kind of conversations you have with your kids to try to, help them get through these times and understand what's going on, So I'll start with you first, Patrice, because how old is your son?
He's 15.
15, yeah, and that's such a pivotal age, just because he's grown into manhood. And so, do you see any effects of all this stuff on him? And if so, what kind of things do you talk to him about?
No, we don't. It's not a topic of conversation. It's like kind of like honestly, I don't even think we really talked about it because I think all of his life, I've been instilling in him certain things. So he's not surprised about what's going on. And I don't think it's a desensitization. It's a, you know, this is what's been going on. I mean, it's not, you know, similar. Like I told my son about the Rodney King case when he was very, very young.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to see this, you know, it's the only, I think the only difference is this unifying thoughts that they're, you know, that's trying to be or portrayed or whatever it is, whatever's going on with, you know, I don't, honestly, I don't pay attention. I don't pay a lot of attention. You know, of course I feel, you know, you don't ever want to see anyone pass. You feel bad for the families. But just as I said last week, we've got to start not making these things topics of conversation and not having them have our children emotionally charged or discharged rather, but more so pouring into our young people from a very young age. And so their energy is, you know, they're in control of their energy and they're in control of their thoughts and their emotions, and they know their power. And of course, not having them sit in front of a TV or a telephone, that's number one. So that's where I am. Me and my son don't really talk about it. And but he's, you know.
What's it? When you say it, what is it? Because define it. What is it?
So it is everything that's going on in the news. Everything.
And forgive me, when you say you don't talk about it, it's based solely on the fact that you've instilled in him certain things. There's a foundation there of awareness. When you say you don't talk to him about it, is that to not sully his spirit, like to put him in a place where?
Honestly, I didn't think about until Dave just asked me. It's not something that, you know, and you all know this. There's certain things you experience as melanated men every single day. So our children experience the same. They've experienced certain things in school. They've experienced certain things that they've heard of or they've seen on social media. So I think I think we've all at some point had conversations with our children about just how to move as a melanated individual, or as a melanated man throughout life. And so when you see certain things, you know that it's all part of the systemic structure that we're living in. So I don't feel the need to have specific conversations with my son with regards to it. That's just me. I don't.
Jarreau, you got kids? You got any nieces and nephews?
No kids of my own, but I do have a 12-year-old brother and a 15-year-old sister. So, you know, seeing them kind of grow up in a world like this, you know, which some of the stuff we went through when we were younger, only difference is it wasn't all recorded on phones. So, you know, now with the social media world, I don't necessarily like go out to them directly and have the conversation. A lot of times they'll bring it to me. So it's just, I just always try to create a space where they can just come to me and be honest about what's on their mind. Like we can have a conversation. It's not like me trying to talk down to them about what's happening. I just want to kind of hear where they're coming from and what they're thinking about certain things. And we just talk about it. You know, but kind of like what Patrice was saying, it's like, you kind of have to be able to take your eyes off of what the media is telling you and, you know, kind of like what you see on TV and articles every single day. And, you know, when it comes up, just have a, you know, person to person conversation about it.
You know what messed me up is when I realized my son didn't know what arraignment was. He didn't know what a plea was. He didn't know what guilty was. And I was like, well, am I doing something good here? Because he ain't never really got caught up in the mix. He doesn't know the terminologies. On the flip side, is he in the dark? Does he understand what's going on? Does he understand, you know, if I remember, this is all subject, the same subject. So he walks in the room and Obama had just got elected. And so, you know, tears are flowing on my face. You know, it is what it is. And he's like, why are you crying, Daddy? And all he known is Obama. He's a little boy. That's all he's seen. You know what I'm saying? And he's big portion of a decade, he's seen something else. And here we are now. He's seeing what we've known. the world is seeing what we've known. Unfortunately, you know, when Ms. Patrice speaks to not talking to them, I wonder, could I ever talk to them enough? Because you know, when we ride down to DC to drop him off at home, he don't realize this is about 4 or 5 hours after the verdict hit. Had it went another way, we wasn't driving down there. We ain't coming down there. You know what I mean? It's all of a ball game. So I find it. I'm impelled to speak to them. I try to plant seeds of love and honesty and realness in them, to where they understand, you know, whether they have melanin in their skin or not, they are God's child. And in that, there's a likeness, there's a oneness, and it's more than what, like you said, the media will show us. So it's stuff. I'm talking to my kids all the time. I can't. My girls probably can't stand. You know, I'm real too. I'm real, raw, you know.
As you can see.
Son,
yes.
And my son, you know, I don't have a choice. It's like this little boy coming up. He's 13. If he doesn't know how to handle a situation where it's stop, freeze, sit on the ground, what do you? If he's not taught what to do, then well, it's the same way when he didn't know how to wipe his ass or ride his bike. Well, daddy gotta show him all that.
Yeah. And it's sad that it's come to a point where it's that fundamental. I see our other host, Aisha, coming in. Better late than never, I guess, Ish. But we're going to get on it too.
There we go. Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
Welcome, Aisha. Welcome.
I'll see you today, Ish.
Well, you know, I'm looking kind of crazy because I'm literally just leaving the gym.
Patrice, I'm about to do it, Patrice. I'm about to take it.
Good, look. Over my head. And Mike just had off earlier, so.
I don't care.
She like,
and I'm driving, so I gotta, you know, pay attention to driving. Like,
all right, that's it. We'll take that excuse.
You understand? That girl. She's like 2 inches from the motherfucking steering wheel, like this.
You know what? I'm not with you, Mike.
She said she's not with you today, Mike. So, but yeah, I do want to, just touch on that a little bit. Just the reason I asked that question is I was looking at my nephew and his level of understanding of it. My nephew will be 13 next month, and we've had a few conversations. I just, wanted to try to gauge, kind of where he was with it and just his level of understanding, because everybody sees and perceives things differently. And so while a lot of the stuff he's gotten from myself, my brother, his parents, and then my mom, his grandmother, their thing, of course, everybody, like I say, perceives things differently based on their own lives and things. So, and he seems to have a pretty good grasp on it, actually a little more than I assumed, and that's always interesting how perceptive young people are, and how much, I don't know if it's how much more, I guess, now they are privy to, so how much, more they is in their scope of knowledge now.
Where were you at, Jarreau? You want to say something?
No, I was just agreeing with what he was saying, because I think that's the most important thing in this whole conversation is, I think sometimes for us as adults, we're so prone to want to like lay the knowledge on our children without really knowing how much they already know about the situation. So like when I was having this, having to talk with my sister about it, she had actually come to me and I was mainly just listening to what she already knew about how things were going on. And I was, kind of like what Dave was saying, I was in my mind, I was like, wow, okay, she knows a lot about this, but then I really shouldn't be surprised because of how much access people have to news and opinions, these days. But you touched on something because my brother has Asperger's. So that's one thing that I always worry about, for him as a young Black male, if somebody misperceives him based on his condition, and we've already seen cases like that, where somebody was having either a mental episode or somebody has some type of challenge or some type of disability, and that is not, readily recognized. And so then it's misinterpreted. And then we've got another name on this long list of people who shouldn't have been taken away. But again, for me, it just comes down to, how perceptive and receptive a lot of these younger kids are. And I'm like, okay, let me just listen to them. see how they feel about things, and then if they got questions, okay, then let's have a conversation about it.
Right, right. And I think
all right, so do you guys find it more difficult because you're not parents, like being the uncle or the older brother or whatever, what may have you? Do you feel like, hey, that's not my place, whatever, or like, do you like embrace it?
Well, for me, I'm just for me. I think it's a little. I can be a little more open with him and a little more honest, and it's not as much of that position of trying to shield or protect them. It's more like I know that the more I instill in, the more knowledge I give him, the better off he'll be. So it's more just trying to help him. Fill in those spaces that may be left by a parent who's looking more at, looking at him more as this is my baby and I want to shield him from stuff. It's more like, no, you're gonna be out there. And this is what you need to know. So let's make sure you know it. And
like you say, he wants to say a bad word, and he wants to say a bad word. All right, so with siblings that younger than you, you got to want to share something with them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's. And my siblings are 2 decades younger than me. So that also has another dynamic.
You get to punch him in the throat and get away with it. That's awesome. That's awesome.
But
we're not for abusing kids here on the Neighborish live cast.
I said punch. I mean pluck. Just pluck.
Not, but it's like, because with my sister, it's a lot different because her mom passed away when she was 3 months old. So her life has been a lot different. And then for me, I always saw it as, I'm not her father, but at least like I'm older enough than her that I'm not necessarily trying to talk at her with things that I say, but I'm always trying to be educational, and I'm always just trying to be supportive of who she is and what she wants to do in her life, and just showing her that, hey, I'm a resource, like you can use me. But I don't find it more difficult because I'm a sibling. If anything, because I'm the older sibling and because I'm older by a significant amount, I'm just like, hey, let's just have a calm, cool conversation, and I'm here to meet you halfway, see what learn from you, you learn from me. And that only has strengthened, our relationship. So, that's my perception of it, just based on our.
Oh, it's called family. It's family.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Aisha, I know you spend a lot of time with your nieces and nephews. Have you had any conversations with them about the stuff that's going on, or is that something you kind of leave to the parents, or?
So like literally I was sitting here like fully impressed on how not one time did you say or anyone say what specifically we're talking about.
Oh.
That's because your ass chimed in late, Isha.
Yeah, I was like, that's incredible. Like, not once did, the situation and the circumstances and, the way that things are going on right now, this information in the news, I'm like, okay.
What are we talking about? Right. So the question I was talking about,
shootings. That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah, but
I could have thought we were talking about like teenage sex. I mean, there was a lot of things that crossed my mind that were being discussed, and I was like, I have no idea what they're talking about.
So yeah, I was talking about it more specifically from the perspective of the young people. How they've been perceiving it, and talking to Patrice and Mike because they are parents about what steps they take or what they feel is necessary. To kind of guide their kids through what's going on, and and how they've been perceiving it and things like that. And so Jarreau was saying that he has a younger brother and sister, and I was saying with my nephew, kind of giving examples. And I know you have nieces and nephews, like I said, that you spend a lot of time with. And I mean, I know, but while they're getting older, they're still kind of on the younger side. So are they privy to all the stuff that's going on? And if so, like, have you had any conversations with them, or like I said, have you kind of been leaving that to the parents?
Yeah, well, I normally leave that to my sibling, but we do talk about their idea of what's going on. I know I participated in some protests and stuff like that, so we talked about that when George Floyd was killed last summer.
See, Ishi breaking up.
Native America, so yeah, you're not ignorant.
Ishi breaking up.
I'm sorry, I'm driving. So.
Yeah, we might have to. How
I'm
long before
driving.
you stationary? You heard me? How long before you stationary?
I'm in my neighborhood now, so can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me now or no? I'm still breaking up.
I can smell the lilacs.
You're
We
breaking
can hear
up.
you.
You're breaking up. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I was just saying, yeah, the kids everywhere. You know, my oldest niece she is 14 now, so they definitely know. My nephew, yeah, right. Ian is 17. Ian has a job.
You said 17?
Yeah, so they are 17. Yeah.
I haven't known you that long. Wait a minute.
Well, the kids have been here. You know, the kids wasn't fresh out the coochie when I met. I mean,
I hate that word coochie. I hate coochie and booty.
That's
I like
a whole nother conversation that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
I'm sorry, Patrice. I'm sorry.
No, but
coochie and booty.
but yeah. So
yeah, so yeah, they know.
She said it.
Yeah. So but like you said, you haven't really like you kind of leave that more to their parents, which is something, you know, that's definitely a you know, something that parents prefer from time to time. You know, you don't want to have your kids getting that kind of guidance from other places. I mean, and that's just me assuming as somebody is that right, Mike, Patrice, is that something you like?
What would you do?
What would I do, me?
Yeah, let's say it's your child and they come in the room and say, "Hey, Dad, this girl just got shot by the police," but I was also listening to a verdict, and like I felt like really awesome that, you know, finally some justice had been served. But damn, I'm watching this girl get shot and killed, and damn, it's like another one shot and killed. It's like Dad, it's constant. Like what do we do, Dad? You know, what would you tell him, man?
Well, I mean, I would just that's a good question. I would probably just start by trying to give them some kind of understanding of the situation of you know, the specifics of it.
It's on tape, Dave. It's on tape. Well, shit on tape. I understand what happened.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of it. That's a real good question. I don't even, you know, because if he was asking like, what can we do? I mean, it's not really much we can do, right? Like, we just got to try to, you know, govern ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, like what can we do? Yeah, we just got to try to make sure that we move in a way that we, you know, help me out, Patrice. What we need to do?
Yeah, look, now I'm trying to be quiet because
no, come on, jump in there. What you got?
You can't seeking justice in an unjust space is literally like it's a show. That's what it is. We're talking about justice in an unjust space in an unjust system. Why do we keep looking for it? Yeah, we've been looking for hundreds of years. It's not there. And so just like you said, we have to focus on governing ourselves. And you know, going back to, you know, me and my son, what I talked to my son about, you know, my son does, he has like 5 people and they get on the phone and they have this, whatever, it's like FaceTime, and they get into debates about real life stuff, whether it's the feminist movement or, you know, what they want to do, what college courses they're gonna take. It's on like different. We gotta stop putting this stuff in front of our children, because do you see other race, for lack of a better word, do you see them honing in and talking to their children about the mass murders, like mass shootings? Like, do we ever see that?
Well, I do feel like if it's put it, you know, because they, like Jarreau was saying, it's with so much access now, so they're seeing it. So if they see it and bring it to you, like, what do you do with that?
We don't see it on the radio stations. We don't hear it. Nobody's asking. You know what I'm saying? Like, not saying it's bad for you to ask the question, but I'm just trying to change the mindset for a second. Mm-hmm. We're not asking white parents, are they talking to their children about the mass shootings, and are they, you know, how those conversations are going, because they happen so much and they're so prevalent. they're focused on their studies and they're focused on their home life and honing in on their family life. And that's what we need to focus on. We need to focus on our children and our home setting and our families. That's it. That's for me. Now, what y'all do, that's for me.
I mean, could you bring up a good point though? Because a part of what has been the issue with us has been, you know, a lot of these things that have happened to us, which is no secret, have been very reactive rather than us saying like, how can we be proactive? And I think that's something that has affected the Black community for as long as, you know, as time can tell, you know, and especially when it's just like you said, it's being shoved in your face constantly. Like sometimes you have no need, you know, you have no other way but to address it. But to answer the question about why white families and other races are not talking about these issues as much as like we are, unfortunately, the one thing I noticed during the pandemic is that it's easier for them to turn off that switch. It's easier for them because it doesn't really concern them. Because at the end of the day, they're not getting pulled over like we are. They're not getting questioned like we are. You know what I mean? It's like I've done forums like this over the summer to address those things that you're talking about, because I was definitely trying to be one of those people to say, well, I need to talk to white people. I need to talk to Hispanics. I need to talk to Asians because I need to see what they're thinking, because otherwise I'm not going to keep shouting into the ether, you know, that about how we need to be respected and how all we want is respect and dignity if they're not even going to address it themselves. So, I mean, and the stuff that I'm hearing is crazy because, like, for example, the fact that we have to talk to our kids about where to put your registration in your car, or what happens when you get pulled over by a police officer. But then we're seeing videos and stuff from other races. They're over there threatening police, hitting cars and all this stuff with no judgment, with no consequence. But with us, it could be just the very simplest things and somebody's not going home. So there's so much to unpack, but at the same time, I agree with the sense of we have to attack it from a proactive standpoint versus reactive. Because like you said, if we're doing everything right in our households to teach our kids about how they can be one in the world and be, you know, noble citizens, then 9 times out of 10, some of these stories won't happen. That you hope that our family is not the one that happens, but we just got to be more proactive about how we carry ourselves.
Yeah, and it's apart from being a noble citizen. For me, it's like I tell my son, it's about knowing your innate power and knowing how to move in every single environment, because that environment is you. Every room you walk in becomes you. And if you know your power, then in any situation, and a lot of people would disagree with this because many people are led emotionally, just like you said, we're being emotionally triggered every single day. If you've watched for a few things I did, I took Facebook off my phone, the app. I took Instagram, the app, off of my phone, right? Week or two weeks ago or so, but I'm on the browser. But then again, that's a different experience too. And I should share that. So having only the browser, guess what? I don't see the videos. I don't see Facebook Watch. I don't see the police videos and stuff coming through my timeline.
Go to feed. You ain't getting that feed.
Right, because it's because of the algorithm. So if you have the app is tapped into everything on your phone, but the browser is not. And so they know our algorithm. So everything that we see, they know. And when I say they, I'm talking about the machine, because it's not somebody looking like, oh, what they doing today. It's the algorithms. It's the, what do they call it? The monster computer or whatever. It knows exactly. It knows what we're going to be thinking in 5 minutes. People say, oh, I saw something. Oh man, I was just getting ready. Well, it already knew that based on your behaviors, based on what you watch. And so tomorrow, I guarantee you, because we're talking about this, tomorrow, y'all are going to see a new video from like 2018 of somebody getting pulled over in some sort of new case in your timeline. Like if you look at the cases, there was something else recently that just came up, I believe. And it was from like 2019 or 2020. And I'm like, nobody's paying. I mean, yeah, nobody thinks that's kind of weird. Like,
you're right. There's a documentary on Netflix that's called The Social Network. That's
the social dilemma.
And it is wild. And it's like, it really makes you think about that stuff. But the thing we also got to remember too is we control social media, not the other way around. And I know it's like, you think about that and you're like, wait, really? But at the same time, like you said, you took the app off your phone. You took Instagram off your phone. You control the narrative. So it's like, if we do that and we take a more active approach, again, proactive, reactive, we can do so much more as a people, in my opinion, you know. So I just think about all those things every day, honestly.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a good way to put a button on that topic. Mike, you look like you got something to say.
How you saying too many damn to me, Dave.
Okay, thank you for that, Mike, for that input. I appreciate what you had to say about your critique of me in the middle of what we're doing here. Thank you for that. Anyway, I do want to talk a little bit about, before we get into the interview. See, now I'm subconscious about the before I get into the interview, I did want to talk a little bit about the Oscars last night, just because there were a few things that happened that were notable.
Be confident with your
no. But Aisha, you still with us? Maybe not. Okay, because I know she saw it. But anyway, and Jarreau, I know you. Is she there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I was getting my moonlight ritual together. What's up?
It's all good. Did you watch the Oscars, or did you see the highlights?
I did not watch the Oscars or see the highlights. No.
Oh, surprising.
Yeah.
She has a life.
Anyway, but I saw the highlights. And Jarreau said he watched the ceremony itself, and there were a number of stories that came out of it last night. One of the big ones was Glenn Close doing the butt.
Yeah.
She did to Sugar Bear.
Sugar Bear, and she knew stuff about it. I don't know. It seemed like it was scripted.
I'll Google that. I ain't seen that.
She did have some specific knowledge about the butt, because Lil Rel was hosting, and they played the song, and he was just going around the audience asking people if they knew what it was, and she was like, "Oh, that's the butt." I was like, "Okay."
So there was a lot of build up before that moment, which made me think that it wasn't scripted.
Okay.
But you know how it's like sometimes you know Lil Rel, he was like gonna go to his people, because you can only do that segment for a specific amount of time. So he was like pretty much the featured host for that segment. He had done some of like the pre-show stuff too.
Okay.
But anyway, so the segment was they played part of the songs that Questlove was curating. And so you had to guess whether the song was an Oscar nominee, a winner, or it had never been nominated.
Okay.
So first he went to Andra Day, and Andra Day, they ended up playing Purple Rain. And so come to find out, Purple Rain was never nominated for an Oscar, but the score won.
Oh, okay.
And Andra Day was like, "Oh yeah, well that's typical." Like it was like full on like attack at voting, which rightfully so, you know. So then he went over to Daniel Kaluuya and then asked him about a song. I forget which song it was. It was Donna Summer, Last Dance. And Last Dance had won an Oscar for best song. So then he goes to Glenn Close, right? And they start playing the butt. Now I'm like, oh, Glenn Close don't know this song.
Right.
He don't know. Then she starts dropping facts about, oh no, this is a group from the DMV. This is a global band named EU, and this song is called The Butt. And we was like, I mean, like every time she started saying something, I'm like, okay, Glenn,
right?
You know about the DMV.
But
he asked her. He said, "Do you know the dance?" They kept playing the song. She got up and did the butt.
Doing the butt.
Went crazy. So
Glenn Close doing the butt. It was a crazy moment. Yeah, and I think, you know, I mean, like I said, it felt a little scripted to me, but it's funny, you know, and Rail is funny too. But you got your hand up, Mikey?
Yeah, things to stop making me masturbate for 600, Alex.
Glenn Close doing the butt. Anyway, so the reason I want to talk about the Oscars is because it's a little bit of controversy around some of the winners around, you know, they said Chadwick Boseman didn't receive an Oscar. I think he lost to Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
And his performance,
you
know, and I mean, they give it, you know, they make sure it's somebody who's kind of, you know, because Anthony Hopkins is a great
Who didn't
actor.
even show up? Who didn't even show up?
Yeah, he wasn't there. He had to do it over, you know, via.
That's
whatever.
all I heard.
No, he
And,
wasn't present at all.
Yeah, he had to
that's
do it
all I
over.
heard.
I mean, he sent the video in, right?
That's all I heard on the Joe Clay Morning Show this morning, riding home to work. Riding to work from home.
Yeah, so Judas and the Black Messiah was nominated for Best Picture. They didn't win. I forgot the name of the picture with what's her name? Frances McDermott.
Nomadland.
Nomadland.
Mm-hmm.
And but the thing that was interesting about Judas and the Black Messiah, and that's what I was saying, Mike, that I wanted to talk about it. You know, just the level of little covert jabs that's taken at our community. It's like how so Daniel Kaluuya wound up winning for Best Supporting Actress. So the two stars of the movie were Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield, right?
Uh-huh.
They both were nominated for Best Supporting Actor. So it's like, that's kind of like, who was the star then? Like, supporting actor supports the main actor. How can they both be the stars and they both were? It was just weird to me. But little things that they do. But that's one of those situations, kind of like, you know, it's one of those situations where it's like, we're asking for or looking for validation in a place that doesn't really validate us anyway. And so, you know, the Oscars hasn't really been that for years. And while they're trying to talk about making changes and strides, I think it'll be a long time if they ever come to a point where we're really recognized for the excellence, you know, that Black people put forth on a regular basis. And
I will say this from last night, you know, you had first, even though they say woman of color, she Asian, so first woman of color to win Best Director. That happened last night. Judas and the Black Messiah did win Best Song, so that her Fight for You, that won Best Song. Mm-hmm. You know, like I said, they also won for, I believe it was hair and makeup or costumes. So Judas and the Black Messiah won various awards, which also Black Panther had won a couple of those awards in previous years. So I think we're starting to see a shift. There was a lot of diversity at the Oscars last night, which I will say, you know, especially having like the variation of hosts. So like Regina King kicked it off. Halle Berry was a presenter. Obviously they're going to have past Oscar winners be presenters. But there was some diversity, not just from a color standpoint, but also from a geographical standpoint.
Nationality.
You know, people that were winning who were from France, who were from Denmark, from Asia, who that hadn't really happened in years.
Was it so much to the point where you noticed it? Did you notice it?
Did I notice what, the diversity?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was very apparent. And then especially having Questlove be the curator.
Don't speak to what Patrice talking about though. The design. Mm-hmm. It speaks to what Patrice is speaking of. It has been the design, the whole the charade, the bullshit. Forgive me, it is what it is.
How'd you know I was sitting over thinking that?
Because of the look on your face.
With all due respect, and I mean this respectfully, because it's a concerted effort. Mm-hmm. Love is not effortless. Respect perhaps is. Integrity, if it is, it ain't real fucking integrity. But ultimately, love is not. And you don't love me for what I bring to you dramatically or singing, you know. But you don't love me for that. You love me because I put some fucking money in your pocket. And ultimately, I don't need that love. I'm good.
I think if we, gosh, Dave, you already know I'm way left. I'm gonna try to keep this like kind of clean and to the point. So if we really like, if we close our eyes and don't use our eyes to see, if we watch the Oscars and like close our eyes, like I don't watch any, I didn't see them. And honestly, I don't know the people that you all are talking about. But if you think about it right now, everything that's going on, it's a massive effort. Like, okay, going left, this is kind of deep.
Hey,
So
I appreciate this. Go ahead.
I haven't watched TV in many, many years. I haven't had cable. It's been over 10 years. And the other day, I was on my browser and somebody posted that on Law and Order, Stabler told, what's her name, that he loved her. Mm-hmm. And so I used to be a huge Law and Order SVU fan. Only SVU, I ain't watched nothing else years ago. This was before my son was born.
Good show. It's a quality show.
Yeah.
It's a little depressing though, but it's a good show.
Girl, Dave.
And so I said, well, let me see. So I Googled to see if I could. My girlfriend was like, you should watch it. And I'm like, I was thinking to myself, how am I going to watch this? Because I'm not tech savvy. So anyway, I Googled, and NBC had an app where you could watch it for free. And I was like, oh God. So I downloaded the NBC app and I looked. Y'all, I couldn't believe that everything that's going on right now was in these episodes. I was
yeah.
Great.
You couldn't believe that?
I was gravely disappointed. I was so disappointed. My girlfriend, I was like, did you see this shit? Like, it's just so much. I just couldn't believe it. They put everything in there from George Floyd to is speaking about how
all scenarios. She's right. You got it right. All of them.
I mean, they call it ripped from the headlines, and they put this stuff in there.
No, it was beyond that. So one of the detectives, and I'm gonna just be real. So we always talk about the Black family and heterosexual relationships and having children, that being the family. And everywhere you look, and I always tell my son, you have to be very conscious of the feminist movement because it's going to break the family. The sister in there, the detective, has a girlfriend who's pregnant or a wife, and it's another sister. And then, wait a minute, then the only sister in there that's smart, supposed to be a mathematician, a PhD, is divorced from a white dude. I was like, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong, do you? But I'm like, why does this continually have to be the playwright? It's just, and I turned it off. I was like, this is too much. It's not why. Right. See, this is, they're going right along. And then there was a young man in a halfway house he was in a halfway house for dating a white girl. And
was it Virginia or some shit? The Commonwealth they ain't playing.
He dated a white girl. He dated a white girl, and the parents called. It's just like 1965. The parents called because they wanted him to be locked up for statutory rape. As soon as he turned 18, they got him locked up.
Oh yeah, I saw that episode. That was the last.
Yeah, I was just like, you think I want my son? No, hell no. That don't say nothing about power. That says, this is the spot you're supposed to be in. We're going to take you to 1965, and this is what it looked like. It was just too much. So anyway, back to what we were talking about. I'm sweating. Back to because it's so serious,
I'm not sweaty. I'm fat, and I'm not sweaty. Everybody smile. Fat man.
So back to what you were talking about, like, I just, it's a lot of things that we don't know, because I can't say for sure, because I'm not in show business at all. And I know some people are, or some people have been, in places in LA or other places where they can speak to the game, thoroughly and really know what they're talking about. But this is just me and my opinion. I think so much of it is orchestrated, politicized, and bureaucratic that I don't really read too much into it. So I'm listening, and I think it's cool, but
that's Patrice's fist up moment for the evening.
Boring. I don't.
You said what?
I said, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm boring.
No, it's
I honestly appreciate talks like this. I appreciate hearing other perspectives about things like this because I mean, obviously, that's how Dave and I met is through the entertainment industry, through show
Right.
business. Because
Oh,
we're both actors. So
yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
when I've watched the Oscars like over time now, I will admit like I've lost kind of the luster for it that I once had because I think the older you get, you start to realize kind of like what these award shows are really for. Like, you know, sometimes it's great to be nominated. It's great to win an award. Like I know we talk about that a little bit later. It's an amazing feeling. But when it becomes like your only pursuit,
Right.
that's when the work gets lost. That's when the nitty gritty of getting into the business gets lost. And I will say, like I said, it was to watch the Oscars over all these years and not see people who look like us get nominated, and now to start to see that trend start to shift. It was kind of like okay, but I also see what you're saying. Like, are they doing this because they genuinely valued the work from that person, or did they know they were going to catch hell if the nominees weren't as diverse?
Right.
That's like the conversation that we're in right now, like this middle ground. It's like, do you really appreciate the work we're doing, or are you just putting us there because
pandering
to fulfill a quota for these nominations?
Right. Yeah.
So but I do hope that like this is the sign that we're starting to turn the corner, because make no mistake, I mean, Daniel Kaluuya did an amazing job playing that role. But I mean, and again, it also opens another thing when we talk about British actors versus American actors, and I could get into a whole slew of that.
What was amazing? I couldn't understand a fucking word he said. First of all, secondarily,
You did a good job, Mike.
No. Excuse me. Have you ever heard Fred Hampton? Did you care to listen to Fred Hampton before the movie came out?
I've heard Fred Hampton speeches before the movie. Yes.
I had no choice, and so you have to hear the voice. You have to hear the voice of the man. And respectfully, while he was darkening all the aces of spades, don't do it for me. Don't do it for me because of his complexion and the piercing eyes that he has. I got all that. I don't give a fuck from Great Britain. I don't give a fuck. Ultimately, when I put the movie on and I tried to hear the conversation, there are things and nuances that he completely misses because he is not from here.
Right, he's not from Chicago, right? Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have to ask because I haven't seen the movie. Are we saying that the guy that played Fred Hampton wasn't? Where is he from?
He's from the UK.
He's a British actor.
Get Out. He's from Get Out. The dude from Get Out. That's where he's from. He's great, but he's.
I know.
He doesn't. It's not even a Chicago slang. Fred Hampton is on wax. This brother words are for us and here for us. Even now, we can stop. I can put it on my fucking phone right now if we want. And ultimately, that in essence is because when you show that visually, I understand that's what you're giving the youth. Me personally, I'm still listening to Malcolm on tape and Dr. King on tape as well. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I know you put, Fred Hampton on a certain pedestal, and it's hard for an actor to kind of capture the level of reverence that you have for him.
Oh, shit. No, Jamie Foxx got Ray Charles.
But that's a whole different thing. Jamie was channeling Ray Charles. But before we get too deep into that conversation, because it's already 7:49, I do want to start this interview with
let's do that.
Yeah, and we'll get back to that offline when we can talk about it freely, and yeah. So anyway, but yeah, Jarreau, what's up, man? I appreciate you putting up with our craziness and our opinions and things of that nature. And putting up with ain't the right word, for sharing with us and our opinions and our points of views and things of that nature.
Like I told you, man, I love talks like this. I love to hear different views about things, even if it's stuff that we may disagree on. I mean, because we've all seen, over the past year, when we don't get a chance to actually sit down and talk things out, you get very polarizing reactions. So you know, it's very important for us that we see all things from different sides, and that's just a part of our experience. And you know, I relish that. I want us to do more things like that, because that's how we understand each other better.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that too, because that's one of the reasons that I enjoy these type of conversations, and that I try to push for these type of conversations, because of exactly what you said. Because when these conversations aren't had, it's easier for people on opposite sides of a given situation to start to fill in the blanks for the person who they're not having that conversation with. And that's when ignorance and stereotypes and just miscommunication comes in. If I can clearly state my, you know, opinion to you, and you can clearly state yours to me, and we can get to a point where even if we disagree, we understand each other's point. I think that's an amazing step forward, and it's something that we all need. So thank you for being a part of it. And shut up. And shout out to my to the Neighborish crew for our conversations. I always appreciate it. Now let's talk to Jarreau. So yeah, man. You know, like I said in the intro, man, you do a lot of stuff, man. And I'm just first of all, I always say one of the reasons that I do this show is to bring people on here who I see grinding, who I admire their grind and the way they move, and let them know, man, we all about giving people their flowers. So I just wanted, you know, to say to you, man, I see you, bro, and I'm proud of you, and keep grinding and doing your thing. Yeah, because it's dope, man. You got what, three Whammy awards?
Yeah. I'm still kind of, it's still surreal, honestly. Yeah, and that was almost a month ago now, I think.
Yeah.
You know, because it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier. It's, you know, you see people win awards and you see those kind of things, and yeah, while you aspire for them, and you know, you hope that's what you earn one day. But even on that night, like when I won those awards, I wasn't jumping up, you know, running halfway across the room, like, you know, just like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I was just kind of very internal. I won the first award. I was sitting there with my parents, and me and my parents spent a lot of time together during quarantine. We understood everything that's gone into this year, everything that I've busted my ass to do this year. And I just broke down, man, because it was just a feeling of humility. It was a feeling of gratefulness. And yeah, I just broke down and cried in my mother's arms like a baby, man. It was, and then by the third award, I just fell on the floor. I couldn't say nothing, because you just, you know what I mean? It's like that's what you work for, but it's still unexpected, and it's still like, wow, like they actually chose me. And especially with this area, because the DMV, I fight for the DMV every day. Like in terms of any interview I do, like I always talk about how talented this area is, how there's just a lot of go-getters in this area, even people who are trying to do something, even if it's on the side, if you're not doing it full time, like people are just out here hustling. And there's a lot of great musicians in this area. So I'm just, you know, I'm just thankful to be just seen as, you know, as one of the great,
one of the best. You can say it,
you know, amongst my peers.
You can say it, one of the best. You can say it. You can go ahead and say it.
Well, look, man, I'm far from done. I don't. That's the thing. I don't even feel like I've hit my best yet.
Awesome.
You know? That's just kind of where I'm at. And the funny thing is, the songs that I won for almost didn't get made. I just decided, like, I'm gonna do these remixes because this is something I want to do, and I hadn't, you know, put music out in a while. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and just hit the ground running on it, even in the middle of the pandemic. And those ended up being the songs I won for. So
that's dope, man.
Yeah, it's just one of them things. It's like, don't quit on yourself, bet on yourself always, every day.
Yeah, I think he stunned on us a little bit. Like, I wasn't even trying to win. I was just doing a little something. And no, I'm just playing. No, but so I want to take it back a little bit to, you know, to the beginnings of the artist that is Jarreau Williams. So when you were a young fella, before you know, singing was even a thing for you, do you remember if people asked you when you were younger what you wanted to be when you grow up? Do you remember what you would say?
Oh,
was
man,
it always singing?
I always wanted to be a professional hockey player, believe it or not. I grew up, you know, my grandmother, before she passed, like one of the things that we always used to do is we used to go to Capitals games, whether it was at the Cap Center that was in Landover or MCI Center, Verizon Center. We used to go to Cap games all the time.
That's a real DMV dude. He called it the MCI Center.
Right.
I still call it the MCI Center.
Capital
right.
Gateway, Cap Center, all that stuff.
Back in the day, yeah.
We used to go to a lot of hockey games, and of course, like, growing up in the 90s, that's when the Mighty Ducks came out. And, of course, when you see like two black dudes skating, two young dudes skating, you're like, okay, all right, I see representation, even though, they still haven't changed. I'm getting into that, but that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to do, man. I was out there learning how to do the knuckle puck from D2,
Oh, okay.
That's what I wanted, and
wow.
I always wanted to be some kind of athlete, but at the same time, whether it was like archaeology or, finding dinosaur bones and things like that, paleontology, I wanted to do things like that. But yeah, entertainment has always been there. It's always been a part of my life. And it's been the one thing that no matter how hard it got, I didn't want to quit. I think that's when you see like something you're really passionate about, that you just willing to try and try and try, that's how you know that that's where you're supposed to be.
Right. So now I want to kind of illustrate the transition for people. So you was a Mighty Duck. You was out there. You was practicing to be, a hockey player. So how did music start to become something that you wanted to focus on? I'm sure there's a journey in between there, but yeah, how did that become, your focus?
Church. I feel like that's where a lot of us get our start. But I'd done the church thing for a while, been, singing in church. I was also singing in a choir at school. Did a talent show in fourth grade. That was kind of like my first solo, putting myself out there. Cool. And, of course, I was the one that was doing I Believe I Can Fly at, graduations, and, started doing national anthems in high school, did musicals, all that type of stuff. And I just really enjoyed it, man. And once I got into studio recording, I just loved that process. I just, I loved like being in the studio for hours and, trying to like analyze how we're going to knock out a verse, or how we're going to get this chorus done, or, just making music, and then obviously just studying the people I looked up to, like just listening to records, repeatedly until I could get every lyric, every transition. That was kind of my thing. I just kind of became a student of it, and I just loved it.
Okay, it's a couple of questions out of what you just said that I want to ask. The first one, so you talked about the process of being in the studio, and how you enjoyed that process. So when I used to record, I always tell, whenever we have artists on here, I used to have, when I was recording, I used to have what I call a studio survival kit. And so it was a couple of things that I always had to have with me when I was recording music. And so one of the things would be like an energy drink, because, after a while you start to break down, you start to, lose your steam. So you need that kick. I would keep something, some kind of sweet candy with me or something. I noticed a lot of it is around like sugary stuff. And that might be why I have issues now with that. But also like a big bottle of water. And something to read for those, because there's a lot of downtime mixing and, editing and things like that and arranging. So are there things that when you were in the studio for those long sessions, did you have like a studio survival kit, anything you had to have with you?
Well, I mean, big bottle of water is key, because it's like, especially if you're doing a vocal session and you're in there for hours, I mean, you got to have that water with you, because there's times where your throat gets dried out and you got to get that little swig in just to be able to deliver those notes. Ginger, I keep that with me. So like in between takes, just another way to keep my vocal cords fresh. And then your phone is with you, but I love it because with voice memos now, if I'm, we're writing a song and we're trying to figure out lyrics, I always got my voice memos near me, because as I'm just listening to whatever, if I go home and try to work on it, then we can come back with something fresh. But yeah, that's definitely like my essentials, to have when I'm in there. Because really, man, like when I'm in there, I'm locked in. Like I'm there as a part of the editing. Like I like to be a part of that process. I like to, hear what the producer is thinking. Like I like to have a conversation with my producer and really see why we're thinking this fits here with this, and how we can make this flow a little better, so that when somebody's back listening to it, they feel like they can have the same kind of experience that we're having listening to it on our end.
Yeah. And so the other question that I wanted to ask you, you talked about that first talent show you did in the 4th grade. Do you remember what song you sang?
It was I Believe I Can Fly.
Oh, that was it? Okay. Yeah.
He said that.
I thought he said it. Anyway, I missed it. I'm sorry.
I mean, it was it was one of those things where my music teacher back then, and then some of my friends, like, as I was always singing, always, whether it was in the halls or like I was that guy when people at the lunch table and the song came out, they were like, Jarreau, how to sing that song, blah, blah, blah. And you singing to all the girls at the table or whatever, and whatnot. And it was I Believe I Can Fly, because that was kind of the song at the time, like this generation's version of Happy, like that's what it was for us. So that's song I started with, and enunciated every single word, and tried to sing it exactly like the record and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, man, the rest is history, kind of.
Yeah, it's dope. So can you talk a little bit about your musical influences, like who you look up to musically?
Yeah, I mean, Michael Jackson was key. Michael Jackson was like number one. I was listening to like every Michael album, every song. I love Whitney, Stevie, Prince. My dad is a huge Prince fan, so of course he had every album. Was listening to Prince all the time. So it was like we, Diamonds and Pearls was always on repeat. So a lot of artists like that, and then even like Usher and Justin Timberlake, Bruno Mars, but I also love Missy Elliott because I just love her style, and also because when she came into the game, she was a bigger woman, and she was still, hitting it like any other girl group or solo artist in the game. Right. And me being a heavier guy, that kind of has a very similar like R&B hip hop style. Yeah. I definitely just loved her, for what she did. And obviously like all the Virginia guys, like so Pharrell, Timbaland, Magoo, like, just that whole, clan that came together in the 90s. And then you found out they was from Virginia Beach. It was like, yeah, this is possible. They can make it. Like, come on, let's go up 95 and see what Northern Virginia DMV can do,
Right. Yeah.
Can I make a comment? I love what you said.
You can't. No, I'm just playing. Go ahead.
Said about Missy Elliott, and then you referenced yourself as far as size and all that, because I was just talking about that. We was talking about Lizzo, and she did some sort of nude picture or something, and I was on somebody's status, and I rarely comment, but I said, at some point we got to realize that we should want to be recognized or, whatever, noticed or whatever you want to call it, for our skill set, not for our aesthetics. Yeah. And what you just said spoke to that. And Missy Elliott was a great example. And I love that you referenced yourself, like, you great at what you do, and your weight or whatever, it doesn't matter. Your skill set and your knowledge base speaks for itself.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing that I try to harp on now, because if we look at the artists that a lot of us grew up on, like if you think about even like the Motown era and even like the 70s and the 80s, all those artists were different. Like you had a Barry White, you had a Luther Vandross, you had Heavy D, you had Biggie, you know what I'm saying? Like you had these, guys and women who doesn't necessarily fit like this newer mold that everybody's trying to package the latest artists into. So when you have people like that, and you saw the successful careers that they had, I'm like, there should be no reason why my size should be the reason why you don't like what I'm putting out. I mean, because full transparency, even during the pandemic, I turned down a record deal for that very same reason. The publishing people that I was working with said that my size was an issue. So for immediately I'm like, well then it's not really about the music then, because if you
Right.
take me as I am, while
Right.
I'm still working on myself, because it's not like I plan to be like this forever. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
I plan to adopt a healthy lifestyle, and I am adopting a healthy lifestyle. And I've
Mhm.
had my issues with, yo-yo dieting and eating
Mhm.
disorders and all these kind of things. A lot of people will look at the exterior and not know that,
No,
Mhm.
you're right.
talking to me and knowing me. So when I heard that, when they said that to me, I was immediately like, okay, I already know this is not a relationship that I want to be a part of, because I've
Awesome.
seen it done.
Mhm.
Especially like when you've seen, like you said, a Lizzo in
Mhm.
this generation, like now
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
doing that, and you had a Missy Elliott, so I'm like, nah, size shouldn't be the thing. Now, if you don't think that I can sing well enough, or you think my style doesn't fit with what y'all are trying to put out, okay, cool. But if
Mhm.
it's because of my size,
Yeah.
nah, miss me with that. I'll go
Mhm.
somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. I saw Mike smile when you was talking about it, because I know what he was thinking, that he's gonna be himself forever. Right, Mike? That's what you was thinking.
I was thinking about anybody see Lizzo get her ass sprayed with like champagne and shit by a bunch of dudes. Like
Yeah, that's
pouring her
definitely
ass crack.
That was a crazy. Yeah.
No. This is what we're talking about. Like her recent video was, she's twerking and she's got like 4 or 5 guys spraying champagne on her ass. And as the champagne hit, she split more. She do her thing and it poured on her and shit. And it's like, you ask yourself, well, why do men always gotta be great till it's time to be great? Because you ain't a great ass woman. Look at your ass right now.
Anyway, Mike. Mike's having a moment. The weed is kicking in. But
the video, did you see it?
No, I haven't seen it. I'm gonna check it out.
I just watched it about 2 hours. I'm trying to tell you, it's ridiculous. I'm not.
All right, calm down. Let me get back to this interview. So anyway, live music is always something that like I've always been so inspired. Like, and I didn't even realize until I started doing like the open mics and stuff. Mike, stop! You gonna get us cut off? For real, don't do that. Mike, for real, put it down. You gonna get us cut off? But look. So anyway, live music has been something that's it's real inspirational to me. So the fact that you put together a band, that you able to find artists that are really dope artists, because one of my very best friends is your drummer, and I know how good he is. Like he's one of the the best drummers in the DMV. I'll go as far as to say that, my man Cornell Webb. So shout out to him. And your band is amazing, man. Y'all have been doing, like I said in the intro, y'all have been doing a lot, a lot of venues and things like that. I talked to a lot of artists to talk about how it's that whole process of putting together a band is a difficult process. Did you have any obstacles or issues trying to get, the right people and things of that nature?
Yeah, well, first off, let me say Cornell don't get enough credit. That's one of the baddest drummers in this area, and I wish that more people knew about him, especially because with his lineage too, like his uncle being Blues Webb, and you look up Blues has played with a lot of people,
right?
And Cornell deserves that same respect. So I'm grateful to have him as my drummer, and just us meeting through other people. And I mean, that's really the key. When you talk about building a band, a lot of it too really just comes down with who your circle of musicians is. And you play out with other people, or you meet other people in passing, or you've seen them on stage and you're like, man, like those people really fit the style that I have. And nowadays what we're seeing in today's music industry, unless you're out touring with somebody, a lot of artists play in multiple bands. They're not just tied to one group. But I would just say, like, the biggest thing that helped me, that worked for me, was I was just really focused on finding positive people. That was step one, because I'd rather work with somebody who's positive and you can coach along the way than somebody who's already like professional expert level, and they kind of throw that in your face. Like, it's okay it's great that you've done music for 20, 30 years. But if you're no longer coachable, if you're no longer like able to kind of fit in with a group and say like, hey, I'm doing this for the betterment of the group, then it makes it for a more difficult situation. And fortunately, right out the gate, when I formed my band in 2016, Jarreau Williams Experience, I just had positive dudes in front of me who they wanted to play, they love playing, and we just love being around each other. You know, they became my brothers, you know, and I've even, like I say, even when women I hire, whether it's instrumentalists or vocalists, I look for that same thing. I'm just looking for positive people who love what we do and love being around one another, because the more you love being around each other, the more you're going to play together. And my thing is, I just was determined to take care of them from day one. A lot of people don't know this, but the first like year or two that we were all playing as a band, there were some gigs I wasn't taking home any money. I was paying everybody else first because I wanted to make sure that they were taken care of. Because if your band feels like they're taken care of, they're going to take care of you, and they're going to stay with you longer because they see that, okay, this person recognizes our worth. So I really say that to anybody who wants to form a band, like take care of your band. But then when you start getting the gigs and the bigger opportunities start coming in, like, yes, definitely start looking back out for yourself too, because that's where I'm at now, where I put in this investment and now I can kind of start to pay myself back a little bit. But yeah, that's the key, man. It's just positivity, man. I just love being around people who love what we do and just want to have fun, you know, and can also be adaptable. You know, we do some things on the fly sometimes during gigs, and it works. Sometimes it doesn't, but we just have fun doing what we do. And that's why I love those brothers, man. They're family to me now.
That's awesome.
Cool. So, the Jarreau Williams Experience is the name of the band, right?
Yeah.
yeah, that's dope.
Something I'm still working on, but you know, it originally started because, you know, for when you're playing out places, you can't necessarily go as a solo artist, because when you're playing bars and like small clubs, they would think that you are literally a solo, just you coming by yourself.
Right.
So you got to put a little into it, or kind of give yourself this, you know, alias name or whatever.
Right.
So that's why I just chose Jarreau Williams Experience, because when you come to see us play, you know, we're not just up there playing the songs. Like, we make it a show, even if the music isn't ours. You know, we perform it like we wrote it, you know,
right.
But still capture the originality and the musicianship that you would when you listen to those songs on the radio.
Right. So, all your band members, who's the best music? No, I'm just playing. I'm just messing with you.
Oh, you trying to get me in trouble on here, see?
Right. So I do want to talk to you though about one of the many things that you do. About you said you sung the national anthem at a number of sporting events. How did you get into doing that?
Oh man, the first national anthem gig I did was like for a hit-a-thon for my school's baseball team, my high school team. So that we did that first, and you know, you kind of get your feel for it, because singing the national anthem is not as easy as people think it is.
Okay.
You know, you got to have that. You got to know where your key is. You got to come in right. You got to know where your range is, because we've seen it where, you know, you have a Fergie incident, some I mean, you know, I love Fergie, but yeah, okay. Anyway, she, you know, I got those opportunities just from graciously from connections. You know, just whether I knew somebody who had worked on one team and they were looking for anthem singers, and then somebody reached out to me, and then you know, like I said, you just go in and you knock it out. You do what they ask you to do. It wasn't about me going out there and showing how well I could sing. It was really like, how well can I sing the national anthem in the time that you want me to sing it? I wasn't out there to like embellish and do all these runs and everything else. And not saying there's anything wrong with that, but certain places have a time limit because they have to move on to get the game started on time, because of like corporate and sponsorships and all these other things. It's not about you. So you know, because of that, I was able to do the anthem for the Nationals, the Capitals, the Wizards, the Mystics, I mean, you know, pretty much majority of all the major DC sports teams. I even went down to national spring training in Florida one year and did a national anthem down there.
Nice.
So, you know, it's just one of those opportunities that I've been blessed to do. And as a Black man, to be out there singing the national anthem in front of crowds that are predominantly white. Let's just be real about it. I think that for me, that was a turning point. You know, just kind of being a Black man in America, you know, and I just want to still be that torch, you know, that we continue to, you know, try to move forward even through all this stuff that's been going on. You know?
Right. Yeah, that's dope, man. And yeah, you say you sang for most of the sports teams. Except you said it's only one that you haven't sang for yet. We're gonna get you in there, man.
Yeah, DC United.
I'll put in the call to DC United. I know some people that know some people. Yeah. I got you. We're gonna get.
I will say, man, singing at FedEx Field was a pretty crazy experience, even though it was raining the whole time. And you know, this was the point in time when, you know, we were still trying to figure the whole situation out with the team and everything else. But you know, that was a great experience too. I definitely wouldn't take that for granted. But yeah, DC United, if you're listening, hey, come on, just
what y'all waiting for, man? He done sang for everybody else. Get him in there. Anyway, I'm gonna reach out to some people. But anyway, so you talked a little bit about the way the music business is now, and how do you feel about the way R&B as a you know, as a whole has been going lately? Like a lot of people have issues with like things like saying things like it's losing its soul, it's not as, you know, powerful as it once was, and things of that nature. No, but first of all, I noticed that you make an effort in all of your music to make sure that it has that pull to it, that soulfulness to it, and so I appreciate that. But like the stuff that you hear on the radio, the stuff that's popular, that's right now, like how do you feel about it?
It's what you're saying, man. R&B is not what it used to be. It's transformed, but I also think music overall has transformed. You know, it's like no genre is kind of like standalone like it used to be. Like now you're starting to see a lot of genres fused together. Like you're starting to see country artists that are becoming more pop or becoming country rock, or, you know, now you're seeing R&B, where when we were growing up or our parents were growing up, R&B was really soulful, whereas now it's merged into the hip hop and rap and trap vein. And just because it's got a singer on it, that's considered R&B.
Right.
You know, it's taken on a new set of legs. And, you know, I was talking to another musician about this recently, and I think like all of us have that one decade or that one period in time where we kind of lose, like we don't really vibe with a certain decade of a genre that we love. Like I know for me, it's all about 80s and 90s R&B. That's what I love. And then even like in the early mid 2000s, like say up until like Usher's Confessions, you know what I mean? Like everything before that up until that point. And then things after that, I was just kind of like, you know, I don't know how I feel about it. Right. So I think that R&B, there's still a special form to it. And we have a lot of artists here who fit into that R&B soul mode, but you've also got a lot of R&B now that is very hip hop heavy, you know, it's very rap heavy. And they just don't make songs like they used to. And I don't know if that's because there's no instrument, there's not the amount of musicianship in it anymore versus just getting with a producer and making electronic beats and things like that. And it's not say there's nothing wrong with that, but it's going to be very rare that we hear like another Earth, Wind and Fire out there.
Right.
You know, or another type of Motown era, because things are just so electronic now. It's not to say it's a bad thing, but what I would like to see moving forward in R&B is I would just like to see people being more original, because right now what we're seeing is everybody is trying to be everybody else.
Right.
Like you're trying to see what's hot right now. Oh, I got to make my music like that because that's what people are listening to.
Yeah.
That didn't happen with Stevie. That didn't happen with Marvin. That didn't happen with Michael. That didn't happen, like, yeah, they had their influences. They had some things that are similar to each other, but it was never like, at least as far as I know, that's how I gotta make my music like this.
Yeah.
That didn't really start happening until the 90s.
Yeah, it was a force to cop, and it came from like the industry. Like I've seen, artists, amazing artists. When I was in New York and New Jersey recording, there was a young lady that I was working with, and she had these two producers, guys that she was working with, who were quote unquote industry guys. They might have had like one or two songs or something, and not knocking them, but their whole mindset was exactly what you were talking about, was following the trends. Because I would sit and watch her record 2 or 3 songs, and they all had to be one style. And then just literally the next day, one of the guys came in and was like, "Oh, I heard a song by A. Marie that had like a go-go feel to it. So we're going to scrap everything you did and do all songs like that." And it's like, and she got so frustrated. I think she moved to like Wyoming or something. She live on a farm now. She don't even sing no more, but it just got so much for her. It was crazy. But yeah, I've definitely seen that whole copycat, influence in music. And so it's awesome that people like yourself, like you said, there are a lot of artists in this area that are more, that are more apt to take risks and more apt to, just channel their originality, and that's something that you definitely do, and a couple of people from this area, and I really appreciate it, man. So
and my thing is too, like I have music that's R&B soul. I have music that's R&B hip hop. I have music that's R&B pop. Like I like rap. I like to rap, but it's like my rap is not necessarily like kind of like the trap rap that you see now. It's more like the like your Tupac, like Tribe Called Quest, that type of thing, where it's more storytelling. It's more connecting the dots based on what you're talking about, like what the song is about, not just popping bottles. And I do have a song like with that I did with an artist, but again, that was what he wanted. So there's that collaboration piece. But when I'm doing like my type of stuff, I definitely do give an ode to like the old school R&B, where it was a lot of innuendo and it was a lot of just like love in the air type of feel, but you're also getting that story at the end of the day when you're listening to the message. So I love music, but it's like everybody connects with that specific decade or like that specific type of artist, and there's nothing wrong with that.
To interact again, we talked about this on one of the shows. We had another guest on, but the frequency of the music matters, and it changed right around the time you were mentioning, and that especially it probably feels like some of it doesn't speak to your spirit, and rightfully so, because it's not if it's below a certain megahertz, or I'm sorry, higher than a certain megahertz, then it doesn't feel right. So the artists that you mentioned, like Stevie Wonder, you didn't mention Lionel Richie, but Lionel Richie, the Gap Band, though all of that music was, I believe, 432 megahertz or above. And so when they changed the megahertz in the music, the frequency of the music, it feels different to us. It's no longer like a soulful music. It's
the vibration.
So like if you say R&B is rhythm and blues, and rhythm and blues speaks to our soul. And so when you change rhythm and blues and you change the frequency, then it feels different, just like you said. It's a different.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny. I didn't even think of it like that. But it's true, because there was just so many subtle things that each of those artists did. But specifically when you look at the musicianship and you look at how those artists were using live instruments, it wasn't a lot of engineered stuff. And again, it's not to say that using engineered stuff is bad. It does help to streamline more music, and you can put music out quicker. But there's just something genuine and organic about hearing every instrument that is that they put on those songs. And even when things are not right on the tempo. Like
Right,
even the
yeah.
Jackson 5 are famous for that. Like, you know, you hear it in the songs, you go back, everything is not a, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4. Some stuff is slightly off the beat too. And I think that's what really, it's that originality that we miss in today's music, you know. But I mean, there's still artists out here that are writing those songs that really make you feel, and writing those songs that are deep from the heart, you know. And we need that, you know, we more that.
Definitely. What's the best advice you've ever gotten in your music career?
Man, I just go back to it's very simple. Back in 2007, I was grateful enough to do a gig for Michael Buble. It was you know, just like a one-time thing. We backed him as a choir on one of his songs, "That's Life," which is a Sinatra song. And I talked to him after the show because you know, he's, I mean, one of the most personable people that I've ever met as an artist, as a celebrity. And I feel like that's just so rare. And you know, I talked to him after the show and I asked him, I said, do you have any advice, you know, just for upcoming, you know, artists? And he was just like, don't ever stop. It was that simple. And I think just hearing it from him, that was what inspired me, you know, because I'm like, if he's saying that, and I the more I've known about his story and I've heard about how he came up, I believe it. You know, because like sometimes when those opportunities come, you just gotta, you know, make it happen, but you can't let yourself get in the way.
Right.
I think we do that too much to ourselves. Like we stop ourselves before, you know, it's possible to see what we can achieve. And so to hear him say that, I've kept that with me. That was back in 2007, and here it is, you know, 2021, and I still live by it. Because I just believe that every day I wake up, something great might happen if I actually like allow myself to go there. You know, we have our good and bad days, but you know, it's just a matter of waking up each day and saying something great could happen today, and I just got to be ready for it if it comes.
Definitely.
I'm gonna keep working till it does.
Right. Yeah, I love asking people that question, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I've never had anybody be like, "Oh, I don't know what the best, you know, advice that we got." Everybody has a moment, and the fact that you said it was 2007 and you've kept that moment with you all that time shows the power of influence and what something as small as some words can mean to somebody. And so, with that being said, when the next Jarreau Williams comes up to you asking you for advice, like, what would you say to somebody who, you know, only has one Webby Award, you know, who's trying to get the 3, like, you know, but what would you say to somebody who's aspiring to be a singer and make it in this business?
Even if they don't have any, you know?
Yeah, I know that was just a stupid joke. I thought it was gonna get a bigger laugh, it didn't. But anyway, let's just keep on moving past that one.
You know, honestly, if there was another artist that a younger artist or an aspiring artist, because I also want to put that out there too, because one of the most fortunate things that I've seen in this industry, especially in this area, I'm seeing artists in their 30s and 40s just starting.
Right.
That's inspirational to me too. You know, seeing that there are people out there that you don't have to start this in your teens and your 20s.
Right.
And you don't have to be successful by then, you know, or be considered a failure. That's not the case. I think if I gave anybody any advice, I would just tell them to stay humble, because you can get humbled very quickly in this business.
Definitely.
You know, and that's the thing, whether it's just be humble in your work, you know, always be looking to do like the next big thing, like where you're at in that moment in time is not the biggest moment of your life. Like there's always more to aspire for. But also too, because I've seen people who out hustle very talented people. Because sometimes it's like we let the fact that we're talented get in the way of working hard. And I've seen it in my own case. The fact that there's a bunch of people that I know who are way more talented than me, and doing far less than I know they're capable of because they just haven't worked as hard as I have. And
I agree with that sentiment. I don't know if it's that many people that's more talented than you, bro. But go ahead with what you say.
Look, bro, I know them. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of amazing people out there who are fully capable of doing the same things that I'm doing. But there's times where you let your talent get in the way because you think your talent is going to push you there. Yeah. And that's why I would just say the biggest piece of advice I give anybody is just stay humble. Yeah. Stay humble, because if you get humbled by this industry, you'll get humbled by the people you work with, because they'll check you, or you'll get humbled by something that happens to you on a day-to-day basis. There's always going to be some experience that when you ascend to a new level, it's going to get that much harder. Mm. So you just got to stay humble throughout the whole process. And, you know, when people want to tell you how great you are and they want to tell you how amazing you are, I'm just like, I appreciate it. I do. But at the same time, I know that I have not reached my peak yet. So I'm going to just keep working for that. So yeah, stay humble.
That's dope, man. That's dope. So, yeah, it's about 8:30. So I'm going to start to wrap it up. I have two questions that I always ask everybody who comes on the show. And I'm going to ask you both of them. So the first one is, if you could talk to young Jarreau Williams, if you could get in a time machine and go back to when you were, say, maybe 12 years old, and you had that young man standing in front of you, with everything you've been through, all the wisdom you've gained, all the information you've accrued through your life, what would that conversation be like? What kind of things would you say to him?
I would tell him to, you know, love himself more. I think that's one of the things I didn't do well enough growing up. I didn't love myself enough. Part of that was because, you know, I was bullied all throughout middle school. So, you know, part of that was because of, you know, my weight, my size and whatnot. You know, and everybody knew I could sing. They knew I was talented, but at the same time, it was like, I just didn't fully believe in myself the way that I should have. So I would say that was the biggest thing, because you know, I spent a lot of time alone because my parents were working. My parents were working 7 days a week, multiple jobs, you know, just to make sure we could provide. You know, we had, and you know, I had family looking out for me, but at the same time, I spent a lot of days alone and just, you know, being focusing on academics and, you know, those type of things. But I didn't really love myself enough to like go out and do more and try more. So I would just say to the younger me, you know, love yourself. Like, you are enough. You're capable. You know, you can do all the things that you know you want to do. Right. You just can't, you know, just don't live in fear of trying it and okay with failing at it. You know, that's the biggest thing I would say.
Yeah, that fear is crazy. I've dealt with that myself, you know, for a long time. So I definitely identify with that, and I appreciate that answer. And the second question that I ask everyone is, you performed a lot. You've been on a lot of stages. You had a lot of eyes on you. You had a lot of people looking at you. When people see Jarreau Williams, what is it that you hope they see?
I just hope they see somebody that wants everybody to love life, that wants to have a good time and wants to have fun when we're in this experience together. And just see somebody who loves the music, you know, loves the experience. Because I was talking to a producer about this, and he said, you know, when somebody comes out to see an artist, they're coming to see their relationship with music. You know, if you really think about that, and it hit me because I was like, wow, like, damn, okay. Because you see how music has impacted somebody's life through how they're performing and how they share it with, you know, with the people that are coming to see them. So that's really all I hope that people see this. You know, like I said, somebody, I put love into everything I do, and I care about the people that I'm with, and I care about, you know, whether you're in the band or you're in the audience or whatever it is, whatever the relationship is that we have, you know. I say it like I play hard and I love hard, you know. That's just kind of It's kind of my MO.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jarreau Williams. I want to thank you first of all for coming through and doing this with us. You guys can find "The Way I Feel," his Whammy award-winning song, and all of his music through his website. It's www.jarreauwilliams.com. And I'll let you let people know where they can find you on social media. And also spell out your name for them so I don't mess it up, because I'm terrible with that. Even though I'm looking at it, I feel like I'll. But yeah, so that's jarreauwilliams.com, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Spotify, SoundCloud, everywhere that you can find music, or you go on social media, you can find me. It's at I am Jarreau, Jarreau Williams. So yeah, just feel free to connect with me. Also, I do have a mailing list as well. So on my link tree, which is pretty much all of my accounts in one place. I do have a link there as well to join my mailing list. I send out weekly kind of updates and just let people know like what I'm working on, like what I'm writing, just I also get people involved. Like if I'm, looking to, work on cover art, and I'm like, hey, which album cover do y'all like? Or, hey, like I'm writing this song about this. What comes to your mind when you think of this? I really like people being a part of this experience because it really makes them feel like they're a part of the process, and they can say they were right there when that happened or look back on that. So I do have a mailing list, so feel free to join my mailing list, be a part of it, connect with me. Yeah, so there it is.
Can I say something?
Yeah, please.
Look, I just want to tell you two things. First thing is I'm listening to everything that you said, and not that I'm like the queen of advice or anything, but this is just on my spirit to tell you. And when you talked about like the things that you've learned and the journey, I'm not in music, but I am a what they call an entrepreneur. And one thing that I've learned that's most important is to honor your divine connections. So all of the like how you talked about how you got your opportunities, and other people that maybe they could have gotten an opportunity, but you were the one that got them because those are your divine connections, and you have to honor those and like keep them sacred and keep them with you. And your divine connections are like the trunk of a tree, and everything else is the branches. But you honor the trunk, and the branches, the leaves will always grow. Second thing, I cook. I do meal prep. You talked about weight loss and all that. Healthy living, just letting you know. I do a meal spread. I can hook you up. So
come on, chef. I'm here for it.
Plug, Dave.
Yeah. I was like, she's trying to get some business. No, yeah.
90 minutes.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I appreciate y'all just having these conversations and doing what y'all do, because that's what we need. We need more of that. So yeah, please keep doing that, y'all. Seriously.
So Fruitfit, FRUFIT. So make sure you follow me, connect.
Okay, cool.
All right, keep shining.
Yeah, you got the underscore on Instagram, right? FRU_FIT, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I want to say, I think that meeting you first and getting to know you as a genuine individual made when I found your music and found out how good you really were, it made that experience so much richer and so much better. You deserve everything you've been getting and a million times more. I know you're gonna do great things. You know what I'm saying? I'm just excited to see you, progress from here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been Jarreau Williams here on the Neighborish livecast. I want to thank you guys for checking out another episode with us. Mike has been uncharacteristically quiet for a few minutes. You okay? You sleepy? I know you had a long day. The weed is hitting the
rice and roast waiting on me.
Okay, we're gonna get you to your rice and your roast. But so yeah, check us out next week. We'll be back with more entertainment, more education, more fun, more great interviews. On behalf of myself, Super Dave, aka Mr. Incredible, my brother Just Mike, Feminine Energy, Patrice Jones, the personification, I can't even talk, the personification of Black Girl Magic, Miss Isha, and our illustrious guest, the one and only, very talented Jarreau Williams. Y'all have a great week, and take care of yourselves and each other.
Keep pushing, man.
Peace.
Bye.